What's up, everybody? This is Courtside with Carter. I'm Carter Solid. I'm a senior here at Washington State University, a humanities major with a primary focus in communications and a secondary focus in sports management. Um, a little bit about myself. I'm from San Diego, California. Lived in Washington for the past 7 years. I'd like to go into sports broadcasting and sports analysis. And we're going to start this show off right, getting right to it in the NFL playoffs. We have the Packers and the Rams. It's going to be a showdown between the number one offense in the Packers and the number one defense in the Rams. Aaron Donald obviously is going to be a huge factor in this game, whether he's playing or not. Obviously, he's dealing with a rib injury, but I don't believe that's going to keep him out. Aaron Donald is one of the best football players we've ever seen on the defensive side. I think that he's going to cause a lot of problems for this Packers offense, especially if he's healthy. Jalen Ramsey, obviously one of the best corners in the league. It's going to be an interesting matchup seeing him playing with Davante Adams on the other side. I think it'll be huge for the Rams if Jalen Ramsey can hold Davante Adams to under 100 yards. Obviously, Davante Adams is a huge red zone threat. Packers number one red zone offense this year. We also have the Rams offense. I think the Rams offense is going to be what determines this game. The Rams this year, they were 20th in points per game. And obviously, last week, Wolford, he was out after the first half. Jared Goff had to come back in. Obviously, he's dealing with a thumb injury, just got surgery about a little over 2 weeks ago. I think that's going to be a huge problem for them going into Lambeau, cold weather, broken thumb. I don't think that's going to bode well. It all comes down to how he can play, how the Rams offense can play. The Packers defense, nothing stellar. They're 14th ranked in points allowed per game. Middle of the pack. I think that the Rams defense is going to be the biggest problem for the Packers. I don't think they should worry about the Rams offense that much. However, I think that it all comes down to the play of Aaron Donald and Jared Goff if he's in this week. I think that'll be huge. It's going to be a great game. First game of the divisional round on Saturday in the afternoon. It's definitely going to be a must-see matchup. Jalen Ramsey, Davante Adams, Aaron Donald, Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be a great game. Obviously, it's going to be snowy. It's going to be very cold. I don't know if the Rams are going to be able to come out of that game with a win. I think Packers win 30-16. Next game, we've got the Ravens and the Bills. Second game of the divisional round on Saturday night. I think this is going to be a really exciting game. I did not expect the Ravens to make it to the second round, but they've been hot. Lamar has been great in the red zone. In the past couple years of his career, he has been phenomenal. Obviously, best run game in the league. I think that the Ravens, if they can come out there and run it on the Bills' defense and Lamar can get it going in the air, I think that the Ravens could pull this off. However, Josh Allen, he has been insane this year. MVP caliber season any other year. Obviously, the play of Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers over in Green Bay, Derrick Henry rushing for 2,000 yards this year. Not Josh Allen's year to win MVP. I think he has an amazing future. I think he has plenty of time to get better, have a great team around him. He has Stephon Diggs. His defense is getting there. The Bills, number 2, points per game. They dropped 56 the last game of the season going into the playoffs. They came out last week and beat the Colts. I think that the Bills come out of this game with a win. I'm going to predict a high-scoring game. I think both of these offenses are great. You've got the Ravens at number 7 in points per game. You've got the Bills at number 2 in points per game on offense. On the defensive side, the Ravens have a stout front. Secondary is pretty good. I think that the Ravens defense will, limit Stephon Diggs a little bit, maybe double team if they have to. It all comes down to how much they can slow down Buffalo, though. I like Buffalo's offense better than I like the Ravens' offense. I think that if Lamar can't get the passing game going, that the Bills are going to come out here and torch the Ravens. So it could go either way, but I'm going to give the Bills the edge here. I'm going to predict 42-36 Bills. Next, one of my favorite matchups of the weekend. I'm really excited to see the Browns, the underdogs. I'm ready to see them come out here and play the Kansas City Chiefs, reigning Super Bowl champions. I believe that the Chiefs are probably going to pull out with this one. It's going to be hard to stop Kansas City. The Browns have been great as of the past few weeks. Coming into the season, I feel like there was a lot of doubt after last year, and then, Odell's production was down. Obviously, Odell out for the season. I can't wait to see him back out on the field, whether it's with the Browns or another team. But I think they have meshed so well lately. I think that, everybody loves to see a good underdog. The Browns, over 20-plus years without a playoff win. Baker Mayfield's been great. He's finally getting it going, and he's finally looking like the pick that the Cleveland Browns wanted them to be. I believe their offense is going to be a huge determining factor in this game, because as much as their defense is going to have a hard time slowing down Kansas City, if they can't get past the Kansas City defense, I don't know if they're going to be able to win this game. I think that the Chiefs are going to come in here and they're going to put up a lot of points, and it's going to be up to the Browns to match them or slow them down. Obviously, that's going to be hard. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Le'Veon Bell if they need him as a red zone threat, goal line, punch it in type of situation. I think that Kansas City, obviously more seasoned in the playoffs. They just won the Super Bowl. I think they have a lot of momentum because everyone's kind of been looking at them this year. And even though they're the number one record in the NFL, number one seed in the AFC, I'm not sure how I feel about them throughout the rest of the playoffs. They looked very beatable at times this season. A lot of games within one-score game this year that, even though they were wins, they had moments where they looked beatable. Obviously, their last loss of the season when they finished 14-2, they were resting their starters. That second loss didn't really matter that much to me, but it all comes down to how much they execute. I think the Browns, if they want to have a chance to win this game, they're going to have to come out and play a perfect football game. You can't underestimate the Chiefs in the playoffs. I think they have the potential to go all the way and go back-to-back. So it'll really come down to how well they can slow down that offense and what they're going to come out with on the football field. I think that the Chiefs are going to win this one. I think it might be a double-digit win. It all comes down to how they play. Next, we have the Saints and the Bucks. I don't know how I feel about the Saints coming into this one. They looked kind of shaky at times against the Bears last week. I don't know if they're going to be able to come out here and stop Tampa's offense. Tampa has been clicking, finished the year second in points per game on offense. I think that if they come out here and they're clicking on all cylinders, if Antonio Brown is coming out there and he can get a touchdown catch, get it around at least 70 yards, if they can find a way to get all their weapons involved, get Rob Gronkowski involved in the red zone, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, if they're having a great game, it's going to be hard to stop these Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Saints, their offense has been decent to good this year. Obviously, the injury to Drew Brees worsened those numbers just a little bit. Having him on the sideline really hurt them, I think. As much as they were able to succeed this year, obviously they're in the divisional round, one against the Bears in the wild card round. I don't know if they're going to be able to pull this off. I think Tampa Bay's offense is going to be too much to handle for them. I don't know if the Saints are going to be able to do that much on offense against their defense. Tampa Bay, number 8 in points allowed per game this year. They came out shaky against the Bears. Not a great team. I don't know. I think I have Tampa Bay winning this one in convincing fashion. I think it will be a Packers-Bucks rematch in the NFC Championship game in Lambeau. Obviously, Tampa Bay smacked the Packers earlier this year. I think it's going to be a different story in Lambeau, no matter who wins. I think that's it for the divisional round. It's going to be a great weekend of football. I'm excited to see who goes to the NFC and AFC Championship game. Go ahead and leave a comment below with your predictions. Leave a like. Next, we're going to be flipping to the NBA. It's January 13th, 2021. Number 13, James Harden. He now plays for the Brooklyn Nets. I think this was one of the biggest shocks in pro sports this year. James Harden has been a staple point for the Houston Rockets for the past 8-9 years. It's going to be crazy to see him in a uniform other than the Rockets. Even now, looking at him in a Thunder jersey, it doesn't look right. It looks photoshopped. KD, Russ, Harden, Ibaka, that team was young. They traded Harden because they couldn't agree to terms. I think the Thunder should have paid him and kept him, pay a little bit in the luxury tax. Obviously, they didn't see the cap increase coming. I think this team is going to be fun to watch. I don't know how much defense they're going to have. They just traded Jared Allen. They traded Taurean Prince, Karis LeVert. 8 picks. 4 pick swaps. First-round pick swaps, 4 first-rounders, all unprotected. I think that is going to be huge for Houston. You look at teams like the Thunder, they have a lot of picks. But now Houston's in that conversation too. I think Houston has a bright future. Christian Wood, DeMarcus Cousins, John Wall, Victor Oladipo. Victor Oladipo, he's kind of gone under the radar the last season and a half because of injuries and whatnot. But I think he's going to have a good year with them. I think he's going to mesh well with that Houston Rockets team. I think there's a lot of good players on that team, a lot of talent. I personally don't think the Rockets should have handled this entire situation the way they did. I think if they would have kept their core together, plus their off-season additions, I think they would have been good this year. But now, even with picking up Victor Oladipo and that stacked West, I don't see them making the playoffs. And if they do, expect a first-round exit. Back to the Nets, they bring in, obviously, a Hall of Fame caliber player, MVP winner, MVP runner-up multiple times. Debatably should have more than one MVP. One of the greatest scorers of all time, and another greatest scorer of all time in Kevin Durant. I think this team is going to be scary. If Steve Nash can find a way to make this team work, it's going to be insane. Offense is going to be through the roof. I think they can put up historic numbers if they can figure this thing out. On the flip hand, it's going to be hard. I think Steve Nash has a lot ahead of him. I think Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, they all have a really big challenge here. 3 ball-dominant players, 3 great players who have a great resume. Obviously, James Harden doesn't have the same resume. He is an MVP. Kyrie Irving doesn't. But Kyrie Irving has a ring. He has championship experience. Obviously learned a lot from LeBron James. Great player. If they can get him back out here on the court, start getting things rolling and get this offense going, I think their biggest problem is just going to be defense. It comes down to what they can do on the defensive end. If they're going to be able to stop guys, I don't think DeAndre Jordan's going to get it done. I think that trading Jarrett Allen is going to hurt them more than they think. Karis LeVert to the Pacers. I'm happy for that brother. That guy's going to go out there and ball out in Indiana. Karis LeVert, bright future. You look at it, all of these guys are on multi-year deals still. Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, 3 more years each in Brooklyn. James Harden, I believe, has 2-3 years left on his contract from the contract he signed in Houston. I don't view this year as a win or bust year for them. There's going to be a lot of challenges throughout the season. Getting this offense to work, sharing the ball, figuring things out on the defensive end, depth, obviously. I think they need to make a few moves before the trade deadline. I think they need to add some defensive help. I think they need to add some depth. I don't know if TLC, DeAndre Jordan, Joe Harris, obviously great shooter, one of the best in the league. I don't know if it's going to be enough. Obviously, they're in the East. Biggest competition might be the Bucks, Miami. The 76ers have been scorching. Joel Embiid, he is looking like an MVP caliber player this year. It all comes down to that team, the coaching, their defense. But like I said, I don't view it as a win or bust year for them. I think that if they can figure things out this year, get a better identity, maybe add a piece or two in the offseason or through trades, get Spencer Dinwiddie back next year once he's healthy. Obviously, prayers up to him. Hopefully he gets healthy and comes back on the court and gets back to the killer he is. I believe this team has championship potential. I believe their window is open for another 2-3 years. Especially with the build of the league right now. The league's trending towards super teams. Obviously, there's not as many as there were a few years ago. Look at previous super teams. Look at the Miami Heat. Look at the Boston Celtics. Look at the Oklahoma City Thunder. They had a young super team. Look at the Golden State Warriors, obviously went to 3 finals in a row that year, or those times with KD, 2 out of 3. KD has 2 finals MVPs, 2 championships, and obviously, that third one went to that boy Kawhi Leonard over in Los Angeles now. I don't think the Clippers are going to go that far this year, obviously. They added some help. Nicholas Batum has been great for them, which has been surprising for me. I remember in the offseason they said they had a splash coming and they signed Nicholas Batum, and people were clowning on him because that didn't look like a good signing for them. Or it did, but it didn't look like it was going to be big. But obviously the other night Nicholas Batum helped them close out the game. I think that they can make a good run in the West, especially with some of the teams out of the way. I think they have a good future, but it all depends on how fast they can get this thing done. Obviously that clock is ticking on Kawhi Leonard. I don't think he's going to stick around if they don't win a ring soon or get further in the playoffs. It'll be interesting to see how the NBA unfolds this year. Obviously, they've had around 7-8 games postponed now due to COVID. 16 players tested positive out of 450 plus in the league. Doesn't look like a big number, but teams, once it goes around a team, and we've seen players from Miami, Boston, Philadelphia. They're going out there. They've got less than 10 guys on the roster that can play. I don't know how that's going to work out for the NBA. I hope they don't have to go back to a bubble format this year. But if they need to, then I'm all for it. I want to see these guys go out there and compete. I think there's too much money to be made out there for the NBA. I don't see them letting the season get canceled or even postponed. I think that they're going to hit the ball rolling still. They're going to come out here and everyone's going to compete. I think as much as there's a lot of talent on each conference this year, I think, it's kind of open. Brooklyn, I don't think they're a clear-cut finals team. Milwaukee, I don't think they are. Philadelphia, they look great, but I don't know if they are. I think the East is pretty open between the contending teams in the East. Obviously, there's a lot of castaways in the East. There's teams that have been underperforming, like the Washington Wizards. The Miami Heat have looked decent. The Pacers, I don't really see them going that far. Toronto, they lost a couple of heartbreakers recently, but I don't see them going far this season either. It's going to be a grind. It's going to be a grind in the West and the East, especially come playoff time. But it'll be interesting to see how these teams work things out, how they handle their COVID situations and whatnot. I think it's going to be really fun to watch. Obviously, NBA playoffs, long way away, long season, only 72 games this year, but I think we're going to see a lot of changes happening to COVID restrictions. Obviously, players have spoken out on it. George Hill recently backlashed the NBA talking about how, there's only so many things you can do. Like, they expect them to just sit in their room all day. I think players are going to get antsy towards the end of the season. Last year worked out well with the bubble format because they kind of had to stay there. There wasn't much they could do. But I don't know how they're going to work it out this season. Things have been kind of rocky the last few weeks with postponing games and teams being stripped of all their players. I don't know if they're going to be able to keep this format up. It'll be interesting to watch and see what the NBA does, what Adam Silver does with the league. But I think they can make it work. They've got enough money. I think with enough money, you can make just about everything work. Thanks again for tuning in to Courtside with Carter. Leave a subscription if you'd like to. Leave a like, comment, share it to your friends. Klay Thompson, if you're out there and you see this, help a fellow Coug out. That's all for today, January 13th. We'll be back later this week. Thanks, guys.